Stay sharp. Don't let a fake smile fool your mind. Have you ever been around someone who smiled at you, complimented you, showed concern for you, but deep down you felt uneasy, empty, drained every time you left their presence? You couldn't explain it, but something felt off. A smile that was too sweet, a compliment that didn't feel sincere, a helping hand that came with unspoken expectations. You're not crazy. That's your intuition speaking. And chances are, you may be standing dangerously close to a toxic person, someone skilled at hiding harm behind a mask of kindness. In a complex world where people wear hundreds of masks to conceal their true nature, Stoic philosophy doesn't tell you to be suspicious of everyone. It teaches you to observe so you can protect yourself. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, remind yourself, today you will meet selfish, dishonest, arrogant, and angry people, but they cannot harm you if you remain true to yourself." So this video isn't about judging others. It's about helping you see clearly the subtle signs that someone in your life might be the greatest hidden threat to your inner peace. And now, let's dive into 10 clear signs that you're possibly standing too close to someone with a dark agenda. Not to judge, but to guard the calm within you. Sign number 1, they often make you feel guilty, without a clear reason. This is one of the most subtle tactics toxic people use. They make you doubt yourself. They don't yell. They don't accuse you outright. Instead, they plant seeds of guilt, vague feelings that you did something wrong, that you're not enough, or that you somehow hurt them, even when you had no intention to. They use half-true, half-passive phrases like, "I'm fine, just a little disappointed, that's all. I didn't expect much from you anyway." It's always the same. You're busy with everything else but me. These aren't direct attacks, but they hit your self-worth. You start to feel like the bad guy. You apologize for things you don't fully understand. Worse, you begin to bend over backwards just to ease that strange guilt that they quietly planted in you. That's emotional manipulation. Toxic people don't need to scream. They distort your emotions, then step back and watch you chain yourself with shame. They flip the script, making you feel like the one causing harm when they're the ones in control. So how would a Stoic respond? Reason is your sharpest sword. When guilt creeps in, pause and ask yourself, is this feeling really coming from something I did? Did I intend to cause harm? If I'm wrong, I'll own it. But if I'm not, do I really need to apologize just to make someone else feel better? Stoicism doesn't teach you to be cold. It teaches you not to let someone else's emotions control your mind. Sometimes being too kind isn't a virtue. It's a trap, one that leads to emotional dependence. Sign number 2, they're only kind when it benefits them and disappear when you're no longer useful. There's a type of person who seems kind, thoughtful, even deeply caring. But if you look closely, you'll notice a pattern. Their kindness always comes with conditions. When you have status, value, or something they need, they're by your side. But when life gets hard or you're no longer useful to them, they suddenly grow distant, cold, or vanish altogether. These aren't true friends. They're emotional investors, calculating every kind gesture, every encouraging word, every coffee invite, like setting a trap, not because they care about you, but because they care about what you can give them. And the moment you're no longer profitable in their eyes, you're left behind, as if the connection never existed. That's when you realize their affection was just a mask, their kindness, a tool. They could be a coworker who praised you when you were in the boss's good graces, but kept their distance when you hit a rough patch. They could be a friend who always needed your help, but disappeared the one time you needed advice. They could be an ex who once promised to stand by you in hard times, but only stayed as long as your wallet was full. So how does a Stoic respond? A Stoic doesn't get bitter and doesn't judge people harshly. Instead, they observe reality as it is. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, "Don't be surprised by human nature. What is natural will always reveal itself." Watch people's behavior over time, not just their words when things are easy. Ask yourself, if I lost everything, would this person still treat me the same? If the answer is no, then you know this isn't someone worth opening your heart to. Stoicism teaches us to cherish genuine relationships, but also to release transactional ones without guilt. Not everyone who treats you well is a good person. Sometimes it's just an unspoken contract. Sign number 3, they plant seeds of doubt, but always dodge responsibility. There's a type of person who constantly makes you feel uneasy in relationships. They never say anything outright. They don't point to anything specific. Instead, they plant subtle seeds of doubt and quietly watch as your confidence, freedom, and trust in others begin to erode. They might say things like, "I heard someone's not happy with the way you're doing things. You should be careful around that person. I can't say too much, but something feels off. Just a hunch, but I think someone's been talking behind your back." These comments aren't meant to help you. They're meant to stir anxiety and suspicion. And when you begin to feel confused or anxious, they quickly step back and play innocent. "I was just being honest, don't overthink it. Sorry if you took it the wrong way, that's not what I meant." This tactic is emotional manipulation in disguise. Their words are like a drop of ink in a clear glass of water. At first, it's barely noticeable, but over time, the water turns murky, and your once clear mind becomes clouded with doubt, jealousy, and insecurity. How does a Stoic respond to this? A Stoic understands, if something isn't clear, it isn't worth dwelling on. Epictetus once said, "We are not disturbed by events themselves, but by our interpretations of them." So instead of spiraling into speculation, a Stoic asks, is there actual evidence for this claim? Does this information help me live a better life? Is this person warning me out of care or creating noise? If someone frequently makes you suspicious of others but refuses to own their words, be cautious. Good people bring clarity. Toxic people hide in ambiguity. You can't control what others whisper in your ear, but you can choose not to let your mind become a field where their poison takes root. Sign number 4, they're not happy about your success, even if they say congratulations. Some people will clap when you succeed, smile, and say all the right words. But if you pay close attention, you'll notice that smile doesn't reach their eyes. Their gaze drifts, their congratulations sound forced, and soon after, there's an uncomfortable silence. That's often the sign of hidden jealousy, one of the clearest indicators of a toxic person. It's not that they outright hate you. They hate the feeling of comparison, of seeing themselves as less than you. And instead of working harder to improve their own lives, they quietly wish for your failure. Why? Because your failure would restore their sense of being normal. You share a big accomplishment, and they say things like, "Wow, lucky you, huh? You're already good at it. Why brag? That's nothing. I know people who've done way more than that." These comments aren't constructive, and they're not outright attacks either. They're veiled in sarcasm or backhanded compliments, classic signs of envy. Deep down, your success doesn't inspire them. It threatens them. It makes them feel small, and that discomfort leaks through their words and actions. So what's the Stoic response? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Don't waste time worrying about what others say. Focus on doing the right thing." A Stoic doesn't live for recognition, and definitely not for the approval of those who don't truly wish them well. Stoicism helps you tell the difference between true light and false light. When someone can't be happy for your success, Don't get angry or disappointed. Instead, quietly thank them, because they just showed you who they really are, who to keep close, and who to let go. And whatever you do, don't fall into the trap of dimming your light to make others comfortable. You don't need to shrink so they can feel tall. You simply need to stay the course, steadfast, clear, and bright. Let your light be the test that reveals the quality of the people around you. If someone can't celebrate you at your best, they don't deserve to walk with you at your worst. Sign number 5, they manipulate your emotions, making you feel guilty, even when you've done nothing wrong. One of the most subtle and toxic behaviors is when someone constantly makes you feel guilty. Not because you've actually done something wrong, but because they want to keep you in a weaker position. This is a classic tactic of emotional manipulators. They hurt you first, but when you react, they flip the script and blame you for being too sensitive or overreacting. They ignore your needs, but when you speak up, they say things like, "After all I've done for you, how could you treat me this way?" They wound you, but then play the victim, leaving you confused, full of self-doubt, and somehow apologizing for their actions. This is a strategy called role reversal. The offender turns themselves into the one who's been wronged. And once you start doubting your own feelings and instincts, you become easier to manipulate, easier to control, easier to depend on them. So what would a Stoic do? Stoicism doesn't teach you to be cold or emotionless. It teaches you to understand your emotions honestly and respond with calm clarity. Epictetus once said, "Other people can hurt you only if you allow them to control your mind." So when faced with emotional manipulation, a Stoic doesn't fall into unjustified guilt. Instead, they ask themselves, did I actually do something wrong? Does this person often make me feel this way? Why is it that every time I speak up, they shut me down by making me feel like the bad guy? Through this kind of inner questioning, Stoics learn to stay centered and not get swept away by the waves of blame and guilt. They don't try to win against the manipulator. They step away from the game entirely because they know you don't always have to argue to prove you're right. Your mind is sacred ground. Anyone who repeatedly makes you feel guilty for no clear reason is trying to trespass on that territory. And as the Stoics remind us, guard the gates of your mind with great care. Sign number 6, they never take responsibility. It's always someone else's fault. Toxic people are masters at dodging responsibility. They never admit they're wrong and always have someone or something else to blame. When things go wrong, they point fingers at the world or even at you, rather than looking inward to understand the real issue. They'll say things like, "If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have done that." It's all because of these difficult circumstances. And if people didn't hold me back, I would have made it by now. These individuals rarely stop to ask themselves, what did I do wrong? They refuse to take ownership of their actions and miss every opportunity to grow from their mistakes. When they fail, their first instinct is to look for someone to blame, not for ways to improve themselves. How would a Stoic respond? To a Stoic, responsibility is the key to personal power. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Everything in life is the result of the choices we make. If you don't take charge of your decisions, you'll be controlled by everything around you." When faced with someone who constantly blames others or external circumstances, a Stoic doesn't respond with anger or blame. Instead, they remain calm and grounded, reminding themselves that every situation can be reframed through the lens of personal responsibility and perspective. They ask themselves, what can I do to improve this situation? Can I learn from others' mistakes without falling into the trap of blaming? What part of this is actually my responsibility? A Stoic doesn't waste time hunting for scapegoats. They search for lessons and focus on mastering their own emotions and actions. Because in life, while you can't control everything around you, you always have control over how you respond. Remember this: responsibility is not a burden, it's a superpower. And those who keep blaming others will never truly grow or be free. Sign number 7, they use your kindness to manipulate you, always playing the good person when it benefits them. One of the most obvious signs of a toxic person is when they use your kindness as a tool for manipulation. These people don't genuinely care about you. They only act like they do when they need something from you. They may constantly say sweet things, claiming they're always there for you, but when you truly need them, they disappear, or worse, ignore you. They offer you attention and help when you don't ask for it, but when you're in real need of support, they go silent or even betray you. They often say things like, "I'm always here for you. Just say the word. If you trust me, I'll help you through anything. I get it. I've been through the same thing." But in reality, these words are just a mask. They want something from you, maybe recognition, maybe submission, or maybe just your help to get what they want without having to pay the price themselves. How would a Stoic respond to this? According to Stoic philosophy, we can't control other people, but we can always control how we respond to them. A Stoic is aware that not all acts of kindness come from good intentions, and they stay cautious around those who use generosity as a form of leverage. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Look beneath the surface of every action. Don't be fooled by appearances." A Stoic learns to tell the difference between genuine kindness and emotional bait. They understand that truth lives in actions, not in words. When someone uses kindness as a form of manipulation, a Stoic doesn't respond with anger or bitterness. Instead, they observe carefully and ask themselves, did this person actually show up when I needed them? Do their words match their behavior? Are they trying to create a sense of debt in this relationship? They also refuse to fall into the trap of feeling indebted. Stoics know that real kindness is given freely without expectation. They maintain independence and self-respect, never allowing their compassion to become a weakness others can exploit. True kindness means giving without strings attached. But if someone uses your empathy against you, a Stoic chooses to step back and protect their own freedom. Sign number 8, they're never satisfied. No matter what you do, it's never good enough. One of the clearest signs of a toxic person is that they're never satisfied with anything you do. No matter how hard you try, they'll always find something wrong, and whatever you do is never quite good enough for them. You've probably met someone like this before. When you do something well, they'll say things like, "Yeah, that's fine, but it could have been better. I'll admit you're good, but not quite there yet. That's okay, but I think it would have been better if you did it my way." They may not always criticize you outright, but their tone, their attitude, the constant lack of satisfaction makes you feel like you're never enough. They set impossible standards, and when you don't meet them, they choose to criticize instead of encourage. How would a Stoic respond? According to Stoic philosophy, true fulfillment doesn't come from external validation. It comes from knowing you acted rightly and lived in alignment with your values. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Satisfaction is not something others give you, it's something you give yourself." When faced with people who are never satisfied, a Stoic doesn't respond with disappointment or try harder just to please them. Instead, they focus on their own actions, accepting that they cannot and should not try to please everyone. A Stoic understands that the essence of excellence is continual self-improvement, and they find joy in personal growth, not in other people's approval. They don't let someone else's dissatisfaction shake their sense of self-worth. They recognize that while they can't control others' judgments, they can control their own effort and integrity. Questions a Stoic might ask themselves: did I act in line with my best abilities? Am I striving to be better, or just seeking approval? If I gave it my best, do others' criticisms really matter? For the Stoic, life isn't about winning applause. And because of that, criticism or lack of recognition can't take away their confidence or inner peace. Sign number 9, they always try to make you feel guilty about your choices. One of the strongest signs of a toxic person is when they constantly try to make you feel guilty about your decisions, whether those choices are right or wrong. They may not openly criticize you, but through subtle comments and actions, they cause you to doubt yourself. They might say things like, "You can't do that. If it were me, I'd never choose something like that. The way you live is selfish. Don't you ever think about others? I don't understand how you could do that to the people who matter most in your life." These statements aren't constructive advice or genuine concern. They're attempts to make you feel guilty so they can manipulate your decisions. These people don't respect your independence or your right to make choices. Instead, they use emotional pressure to push you into doing what they think is right. How would a Stoic respond? According to Stoic philosophy, each person has the right to choose their own path in life, and no one has the authority to make you feel guilty for your decisions, especially if those decisions aren't harming anyone. Stoics understand that choices are deeply personal, and no one but you can fully know what's best for your life. They don't allow guilt or blame from others to shake their judgment or steer them away from what they believe is right. This doesn't mean Stoics ignore advice or feedback from others. However, they stay grounded and won't be swayed by guilt that others try to impose. A Stoic doesn't live by the judgment of others, because they know that everyone walks their own path, and only you truly understand what you need. They remind themselves, every action I take reflects the values I believe in, and only I can evaluate those values honestly. If my choices don't harm anyone and serve my growth, I have every right to pursue them. When confronted by someone trying to make them feel guilty for their decisions, a Stoic holds firm and reminds themselves that no one else has the right to define their life. Sign number 10, they always make you feel tense and unable to relax. A clear sign of a toxic person is when being around them constantly makes you feel tense and unable to relax. They may not always do something overtly aggressive, but their presence, attitude, or behavior drains your energy and puts you on edge. Every interaction feels like walking on a tightrope. You're never at ease. They might create unnecessary drama, turning simple situations into stress-filled ordeals. Make you worry about their judgment constantly, as if they're watching your every move. Make you feel like you're never enough, leaving you guarded, anxious, and unable to truly be yourself. People like this create a negative emotional environment where you feel judged or uncomfortable all the time. The relationship becomes a never-ending test, and you're always bracing for the next wave of tension or disapproval. How would a Stoic respond? A Stoic understands that while they can't control everything around them, they can control how they respond. They know that changing others isn't always possible, but mastering their own reactions is. When faced with people who bring stress and negativity, Stoics don't get pulled into the emotional chaos. They prioritize inner peace and do whatever they can to stay calm and centered. That's why Stoics train themselves to maintain tranquility regardless of external circumstances. They also understand stress is often a sign that you're letting external forces dictate your emotions. A Stoic responds by creating emotional distance, not allowing toxic people to disturb their inner balance. I can't change others, but I can change how I respond to them. Stoics stand firm and remind themselves that tension is a signal to re-examine how they're engaging. And if necessary, they step away from toxic relationships to protect their peace. For a Stoic,
the harsh reality. Women don't love weakness. Most men believe women leave because of someone else. That's a lie we tell ourselves to feel better. The real reason is much harsher. She leaves the moment she no longer respects you. Respect is the lifeblood of love. Without it, affection fades, passion cools, and loyalty disappears. You can still be funny, generous, even loving. But if she doesn't respect you, she won't stay. Think of respect as oxygen. You don't notice it when it's there, but when it's gone, everything suffocates. Relationships are no different. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's the essence of masculine respect. You don't earn it by begging, by talking, or by demanding. You earn it by living as a man of strength, discipline, and self-control. The truth is simple but brutal. Women may forgive mistakes, failures, even flaws, but they will not forgive weakness. Weakness isn't just lack of muscles. It's when you avoid responsibility, collapse under pressure, or rely on her for validation. Each time you show this, her respect quietly dies. And when respect dies, attraction follows. So what does weakness actually look like in modern men? In the next chapter, we'll uncover the hidden habits that destroy respect without you even noticing. 2. What weakness looks like in modern men. Weakness today isn't always obvious. Most men don't walk around looking fragile, but their behavior quietly screams it. And women notice instantly. Weakness shows itself when a man can't stand on his own 2 feet. He constantly asks for validation. He apologizes for existing. He becomes needy for attention, begging for love, instead of inspiring it. That's not romance, that's desperation. Another form of weakness is emotional chaos. A man who explodes in anger over small things, or who sulks in silence when life doesn't go his way, shows he has no control over himself. To a woman, this is terrifying. Why? Because if he can't manage his own emotions, how can he handle the storms of life? Then there's indecision, endless overthinking without action. The Stoics taught that hesitation is weakness because the world belongs to the man who acts. A man stuck in constant doubt becomes a burden, not a leader. Finally, weakness shows in dependence, financial, emotional, or spiritual. A man who needs his woman to carry him is not her partner. He becomes her child, and no woman can respect a man she has to mother. These weaknesses may seem small, but together they silently destroy respect. And once respect is gone, attraction doesn't just fade, it evaporates. Now, if weakness kills respect, what does real strength look like? The Stoics had a very different answer than most modern men imagine. And that's what we'll uncover in the next chapter. 3. What true strength really means. When most men hear strength, they imagine big muscles, a loud voice, or being dominant. But the Stoics taught something far deeper. Strength is not about overpowering others, it's about mastering yourself. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. True strength begins with emotional control. A strong man doesn't explode in rage, nor does he collapse in despair. He stays steady in storms, calm when others panic. To a woman, this calm presence is magnetic because it shows she can trust him when life gets hard. Strength also means responsibility. A Stoic man doesn't blame others for his problems. He owns his choices, his failures, and his victories. This accountability commands respect because it separates men from boys. Then comes discipline. Strength is built daily in how you work, how you train, how you speak, how you live. Discipline proves you can lead yourself, and therefore, you can lead others. Finally, true strength is quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't need to prove itself. It shows in your actions, not your words. Women don't need a man who talks about being strong. They need a man who simply lives it. But strength is not enough by itself. Respect can only last if you know how to keep it alive. In the next chapter, we'll explore how men unknowingly lose respect and how you can protect it before it's gone. 4. How men lose respect without knowing it. Respect isn't lost in one big moment. It dies slowly, piece by piece, through small habits men don't even notice. One way is through broken promises. Every time you say you'll do something and don't follow through, even something simple, you weaken her trust. The Stoics believed that integrity is the root of character. Without it, no one can respect you. Another way is putting her above your mission. When a man makes his woman his entire world, he thinks he's being romantic. In reality, he's showing he has no greater purpose. Marcus Aurelius lived for duty, not pleasure. A man without purpose is like a ship without a captain, drifting and soon abandoned. Then there's emotional dependency. If you can't be stable without her approval, she stops seeing you as her rock. and starts seeing you as a weight she carries. Finally, men lose respect by avoiding hard truths. When you lie to yourself, when you ignore problems instead of facing them, your weakness becomes visible. Women can sense it, and once they see it, they can't unsee it. These quiet habits eat away at respect until one day she's gone. Not because of another man, but because the man she once respected no longer exists. So, how do you rebuild respect once it's been damaged? Or protect it before it's lost? In the final chapter, we'll break down the Stoic path to lasting respect and attraction. 5. The Stoic path to lasting respect. If weakness kills respect, then strength, discipline, and purpose are what keep it alive. But the Stoics remind us, this isn't about pretending to be strong, it's about becoming strong from within. First, practice self-control. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Control your emotions, your impulses, and your reactions. When she sees you remain calm under pressure, she sees a man who can lead, not crumble. Second, build discipline and consistency. Wake up with purpose. Keep your word. Take care of your body, your work, and your mind. Women respect men who respect themselves first. Third, live for a mission beyond her. A man with a higher calling, his career, his craft, his principles, is never fully dependent on a woman for his identity. That's the paradox. When she's not your whole world, she actually wants to stay in your world. Finally, embrace quiet confidence. You don't need to brag. You don't need to beg. Just live with strength, and respect will follow. The Stoic path isn't easy, but it's timeless. And once you walk it, you'll see that respect. From women, from others, and most importantly, from yourself, becomes unshakable. And that's the brutal Stoic truth. Women don't leave because of love. They leave because of lost respect. The good news is, you can rebuild it, starting today.
1. You always make excuses and never take responsibility. Nothing makes people lose respect for you faster than constantly shifting blame. You're late? You blame the traffic. You fail? It's your boss, your environment, or bad luck. You hurt someone? You say, "I didn't mean to," and move on as if it's not your problem. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In Stoic philosophy, the person worthy of respect isn't the one who's perfect, but the one who has the courage to say, "I was wrong," and then works to become better. People respect those who don't hide behind excuses. They admire those who take full ownership, even when it hurts their pride. Because true dignity doesn't come from appearances. It comes from character. Stoic in practice. Next time you mess up, don't explain it away. Just say, "I was wrong. I'll fix it." That's it. And you'll earn more respect in that one moment than a dozen excuses could ever buy. Respect starts with you. And when you take responsibility, people start to trust you and look up to you. 2, you constantly complain. Strong people don't whine. Few things shrink your presence and drain your power more than constant complaining. You complain about your job, your coworkers, the weather, your partner, even about not having a partner. You think you're just venting, but in reality, you're spreading negative energy everywhere you go. Epictetus once said, "Don't waste your time blaming others or the world. The only thing truly within your control is your own mind and how you respond." People don't respect those who suffer loudly. They respect the ones who suffer quietly and carry on with dignity. When you complain, you hand your power over to your circumstances. When you stay calm and take action, you reclaim control over your life. Stoic in practice. When something bad happens, don't broadcast it. Step back, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? Can I respond like someone who is grounded and strong? People don't admire you for how well you can rant. They admire you for your calm, your resilience, and your refusal to let the world shake your inner peace. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, if it doesn't harm your character, it hasn't truly harmed you. So when you stop complaining, you don't just grow up. You start becoming someone others look up to. 3, you react impulsively and lose your calm. In a world full of noise, stress, and constant pressure, people don't judge you by your words. They judge you by how you react. You get angry when criticized. You snap back when challenged. You lose your temper when things don't go your way. These knee-jerk reactions are not signs of strength. They're signs that you haven't mastered yourself. And according to Stoic philosophy, if you can't control your emotions, you can't earn the respect of others. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You don't have to have an opinion. You don't have to react. If you can remain still and composed, you've already won." Calmness isn't coldness, it's inner strength. The ability to remain steady even when the world around you isn't. The impulsive person is easy to provoke, easy to manipulate, easy to throw off balance. The calm person, unshakable, grounded, and quietly commanding respect wherever they go. Stoic practice. Next time you feel provoked, pause for 5 seconds. Ask yourself, will this reaction elevate my character or pull me down? Master your reaction before it masters you. People may forget what you said in anger, but they won't forget that you lost your composure. True respect belongs to those who don't let emotions control them, but instead give their emotions purpose. Let your calmness and silence speak for you. Because in a noisy world, grace under pressure is a rare kind of power. 4, you don't keep your promises, and it erodes trust. Few things make people lose respect for you faster than saying one thing and doing another. Every time you make a promise you don't keep. Every time you create a plan but fail to follow through, you're quietly chipping away at your own credibility. To a Stoic, a promise isn't just words, it's a contract of honor. Once you speak it, your integrity is tied to it. Epictetus once said, "Never let your words run ahead of your actions. The wise live by doing, not by promising." When you say you'll show up and you don't, when you say you'll change but fall into the same old patterns, when you say I'll do it but have no intention of following through, people start learning not to believe you. And with that, respect begins to fade, quietly and without warning. Stoic philosophy reminds us of something powerful. The weak make promises to please others. The strong stay silent and act to protect their self-respect. Stoic practice. 1. Only make promises you know you can keep. 2. Treat your words like a bond. Follow through as if your honor depends on it. 3. If you break a promise, own it. Don't make excuses. Respect isn't given, it's built, brick by brick, through consistent actions. If you want to be seen as trustworthy, start with the smallest thing. Keep your word. People may forgive your mistakes, but no one respects someone who doesn't mean what they say. So if you want others to look at you with confidence, if you want your words to carry weight, then don't talk, doctor. Because in the end, action is the language of those who are truly respected. 5. You're a people pleaser, and you lose yourself trying to keep everyone happy. You always say yes. You smile even when you don't want to. You agree when everything inside you says no. Why? Because you're afraid of upsetting people. Because you're afraid of being disliked. Because you're afraid of not being accepted. But remember the words of Marcus Aurelius: if you live to please everyone, you'll lose your soul piece by piece. Respect doesn't come from weakness or fear. It comes from the boundaries you're willing to set and the values you refuse to compromise. The more you try to please everyone, the more invisible you become. People might take advantage of you. They might pity you. They might even like you, but they won't respect you. In Stoic philosophy, self-mastery is everything. A Stoic isn't controlled by other people's emotions and doesn't live for the approval of the crowd. You can be kind, you can be respectful, but don't abandon yourself. Remember this: when you say no, people might not like it, but they will respect you. When you stand your ground, some may push back, but they'll see you differently. When you stay true to your values, you don't need to shout. People will quietly take notice. Stoic practice. 1. Before any decision, ask yourself, will this betray who I am? 2. When you feel pressured, practice saying no without guilt. 3. Spend more time listening to yourself than chasing the emotions of others. The people who earn real respect aren't the ones who try to please everyone. They're the ones who have the courage to stay true to the clear, subtle sign of a woman who does not value you, and how Stoic men deal with it without begging, without breaking down, and without losing themselves. Let's begin with the first and most common red flag. Sign 1. She tests your boundaries, then laughs when you enforce them. She constantly jokes about crossing lines you've clearly set. She mocks your values, your beliefs, or your lifestyle, then says, "Relax, I'm just playing." But here's the truth. It's not a joke. It's a test. A woman who respects you doesn't need to break your boundaries just to feel powerful. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." And part of being a good man is drawing the line and defending it with calm, not chaos. Let's move to the second sign, one that cuts deeper than any insult. Buena signs 2. She withholds affection to control you. Love shouldn't be a weapon, but for some women, it is. She becomes cold, distant, and dismissive. Not because you hurt her, but because she wants you to chase. This is emotional manipulation, dressed as needing space. A woman who truly values you won't make you earn her attention through obedience. As Epictetus said, "He who is not master of himself is a slave." And when you keep chasing someone who withholds affection, you become a slave to their approval. Now let's talk about one of the most overlooked red flags of all. Signs 3. She always plays the victim, even when she's wrong. She never apologizes, even when she's clearly in the wrong. She somehow makes you feel guilty. She twists the story until you're the villain, and she's the poor soul who never gets treated right. This isn't a flaw, it's a tactic. A woman who can't take responsibility will never respect a man who does. In the words of Seneca, he who blames others has a long road to wisdom. And trust me, you don't want to walk that road with her. And if this next sign shows up, run. Don't explain. Don't argue. Just walk. There's signs 4. She competes with you instead of supporting you. She doesn't celebrate your success, she compares it to hers. She doesn't lift you up, She measures herself against you. It feels less like a relationship and more like a rivalry. But here's the Stoic truth. A woman who competes with you secretly resents your strength. Love is not about one person winning. It's about two people rising together. If every win makes her colder instead of closer, you're not in a partnership. You're in a battle. And finally, let's explore the most dangerous trait of all. Signs 5. She has no respect for your purpose or vision. You share your dreams. She shrugs. You speak your plans. She scoffs. You talk about the future. She changes the subject. When a woman has no interest in your vision, she will never support your mission. As Stoics believe, a man must live according to reason and purpose. But a woman who belittles your path will pull you away from your destiny. And here's the harsh truth. She doesn't want to grow with you. She wants to shrink you down. So now that we've uncovered these 5 red flags, what should you do next? Stay tuned for the coming closing chapter, where we'll show you the Stoic path forward and how to reclaim your peace without Gotcha 1. Don't react. Observe and rise above. When someone disrespects you, your first instinct is to react, to defend, argue, or lash out. But that's exactly what they want. It confirms that they've gotten under your skin. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Instead of reacting, observe their behavior like a Stoic sage. With calm detachment, their insult reveals who they are, not who you are. By refusing to engage emotionally, you rise above their level, and you win without playing their game. Next, let's look at the subtle power of silence. Shakuryu. 2. Use silence as a weapon. Not every battle needs a sword. In fact, the strongest weapon in your arsenal might be your silence. When someone throws disrespect your way and you say nothing, not out of fear, but out of composure, it shakes them. Stoicism teaches us that silence is not weakness. It is restraint. It is strength under control. When you respond with silence, you communicate. I do not owe you my attention, my words, or my energy. But what if the disrespect continues? You set the boundary. 3. Set boundaries without emotion. A Stoic doesn't let people walk over him, but he also doesn't explode. He draws the line firmly, calmly, and once. When someone repeatedly disrespects you, clearly state your boundary. I don't allow that kind of talk in my space. I won't continue this conversation if it stays disrespectful. No emotion, no argument, just quiet authority. Boundaries are not for others. They're for you, to protect your peace, your focus, your values. Still feel angry inside? Let's talk about your real enemy. 4. Master your inner response. That's the true fight. The person who disrespects you is not the biggest threat. Your untrained reaction is. As Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This is where Stoicism demands real discipline. To pause, breathe, and reflect before speaking. When your mind is calm, you think clearly. You choose actions that elevate you instead of dragging you down. Don't let their immaturity create your chaos. And then finally, let's learn the most Stoic move of all. Walking away. Number 5, when necessary, leave without drama. Sometimes the most powerful move is removal. Not to punish them, but to protect your energy. The Stoic man knows. I don't need to fight to win. I win by not playing. Walk away from disrespectful people. Cut off toxic interactions. Not with bitterness, not with revenge, but with peace. Your energy is sacred, your time is limited, and your mind deserves stillness. Disrespect is everywhere, at work, in relationships, online. But you don't have to be everyone's emotional punching bag. You can respond like a Stoic with silence, strength, and strategy. Let's now tie everything together and remind ourselves what true strength really means. Fornire, the echo chamber of victimhood. This is the mental space where you believe life is happening to you, not for you. In this place, every failure is someone else's fault. Every hardship becomes a reason to quit. Stoicism teaches that a man doesn't beg for pity. He takes radical ownership of his life. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Victimhood feels warm at first. It gives you excuses. But over time, it robs you of the fire that builds men. Step out of that chamber, or you'll never know your true potential. And if you think that's bad, wait until you see the next trap. Number 2, the comfort zone that masquerades as peace. This is the place where nothing challenges you. No risk, no failure, no growth, just routine and quiet decay. You convince yourself that peace means staying safe, avoiding pressure, avoiding discomfort. But the Stoics knew peace doesn't come from avoiding struggle, it comes from overcoming it. Seneca said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." So ask yourself, is your peace real or just the absence of growth? If you're too comfortable, you're probably too close to dying while still alive. 3, the crowd that silences your inner voice. This is the social place where everyone has an opinion about your life except you. You bend to trends, you fear judgment, you wear a mask to fit in. In this crowd, authenticity dies, and with it, your inner compass. Stoicism urges us to stand alone if necessary, because solitude often guards truth. Epictetus taught, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." A man who constantly seeks approval is a man easily controlled. Better to be misunderstood and free than popular and lost. And speaking of lost, let's talk about the next place. 4, the prison of regret and the future that never comes. Some men live in the past, others live in a fantasy future. Both are prisoners of time. They replay old wounds or delay action waiting for the right moment. But the Stoics believed, life only happens in the present. And wasting that moment is the greatest loss of all. Marcus Aurelius warned, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you." The man who learns to be present can conquer both his past and future. Stay too long in the fog of regret or fantasy, and you'll never see what's right in front of you. But even that isn't the worst place. 5, the place where you abandon responsibility. This is the most dangerous place of all. It's not marked on any map, but you feel it the moment you say, "It's not my problem." This place is spiritual death. It's where men give up leadership, give up discipline, give up on building themselves and others. But Stoic men don't wait to be rescued, they become the rescuer. They don't collapse under pressure, they build pressure into strength. Responsibility isn't a burden, it's the proof of manhood. He who is brave is free. Seneca. And no man is free who hides from his duty. 1. Accept the pain, not the story you built around it. Pain hurts once, but your interpretation of pain, that hurts forever. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." The Stoics teach, pain is real, but suffering is optional. When someone hurt you, what really broke you wasn't the moment. It was the endless narrative you built around it. I wasn't enough. They never loved me. I must be broken. The first step to healing is simple but powerful. Separate what happened from what you made it mean. Painful events don't define you. Your perception does. And when you stop feeding the story, you start starving the pain. Let's move to the next way, one that rewires your emotional instinct completely. Shatu, master the pause between emotion and reaction. The Stoics had a secret. Emotions aren't dangerous. What you do with them is. Seneca taught us that a wise man doesn't suppress emotions, he understands them. When you feel anger, grief, betrayal, don't react. Pause, observe, let it pass through you without owning it. Your ability to pause is your power, because in that tiny moment between trigger and reaction lies your freedom. When you don't react, you don't bleed emotionally all over people who didn't cut you. You conserve strength. You protect your peace. Once you've mastered the pause, it's time to take that control inward. Agri 3, detach from the need for closure. You may never get the apology you deserve. They may never admit what they did, and that's okay. Epictetus said, "It's not things that disturb us, but our judgment about them." You don't need their closure. You need your own decision to stop waiting for it. Holding on to pain until someone else fixes it is like drinking poison and expecting them to suffer. Stop waiting at a door that's already been closed. Give yourself the gift they never gave you, inner resolution. Now that you've detached from expectation, you're ready to redirect your energy. Query 4, channel your pain into growth. Pain is raw energy, and energy, if directed, can build something powerful. The Stoics believed adversity was fuel. Turn heartbreak into discipline. Turn grief into wisdom. Turn loneliness into deeper self-awareness. Let every scar become a blueprint, not for destruction, but for building a stronger you. Don't waste your suffering, use it. Because when you choose to transform pain instead of transmitting it, you break the cycle. With that mindset, there's one final step to make your healing complete. 5, return to the present moment, fully and fiercely. Your pain lives in the past. Your anxiety lives in the future. But your healing, it only happens here, now. As Marcus Aurelius said, confine yourself to the present. When you bring your attention back to this moment, your breath, your surroundings, your strength, you disconnect from the pain's root. Don't time travel to the hurt. Don't rehearse old conversations. Come home to yourself. The most stoic move is simple: to be here, to live now, to feel peace in your own presence. You don't need to erase the pain. You just need to stop letting it define your story. The Stoics never promised a life without wounds, but they taught us how to walk through the fire and come out cleaner, calmer, and stronger than ever. So if your heart is heavy right now, take this to heart. You are not broken. You are rebuilding. And that pain you carry, It's not your weakness. It's your raw material for greatness. Don't let your pain win by staying silent. Let today be the turning point. Choose one of the 5 principles and live it. Today. And if this message spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone who's hurting silently. Hit like, tap, subscribe, and join us on this journey of inner strength, stoic wisdom, and emotional mastery. Drop a comment and tell us which principle hit you the hardest. Together we rise. Together we heal. Together we live like true Stoics. This is Stoic Modern, where your pain becomes your power.